Recorded Books presents Step Across This Line, Collected Nonfiction, 1992 to 2002, by Salman Rushdie, narrated by Firdous Bamji, and directed by Tiana Kennedy. This book is copyrighted 2002 by Salman Rushdie. This recording is copyrighted 2007 by Recorded Books. The essays, speeches, and opinion pieces assembled in this book chronicle a 10-year intellectual odyssey by one of the most important, creative, and respected minds of our time. Salman Rushdie's fierce intelligence, uncanny social commentary, and irrepressible wit comprise, in his own words, a wake-up call about the way we live and think today. And now, step across this line.
Out of Kansas. I wrote my first short story in Bombay at the age of 10. Its title was Over the Rainbow. It amounted to a dozen or so pages, was dutifully typed up by my father's secretary on flimsy paper, and was eventually lost somewhere along my family's mazy journeyings between India, England, and Pakistan. Shortly before my father's death in 1987, he claimed to have found a copy mouldering in an old file, but despite my pleadings, he never produced it. I've often wondered about this incident. Maybe he never really found the story, in which case he'd succumbed to the lure of fantasy, and this was the last of many fairy tales he told me. Or else he did find it, and hugged it to himself as a talisman and a reminder of simpler times, thinking of it as his treasure, not mine, his pot of nostalgic parental gold. I don't remember much about the story. It was about a 10-year-old Bombay boy who one day happens upon the beginning of a rainbow, a place as elusive as any pot of gold end zone, and as rich in promise. The rainbow is broad, as wide as the sidewalk, and constructed like a grand staircase. Naturally, the boy begins to climb. I've forgotten almost everything about his adventures, except for an encounter with a talking pianola whose personality is an improbable hybrid of Judy Garland, Elvis Presley, and the playback singers of the Hindi movies, many of which made The Wizard of Oz look like kitchen-sink realism. My bad memory, what my mother would call a forgettery, is probably a blessing. Anyway, I remember what matters. I remember that The Wizard of Oz, the film, not the book, which I didn't read as a child, was my very first literary influence. More than that, I remember that when the possibility of my going to school in England was mentioned, it felt as exciting as any voyage over rainbows. England felt as wonderful a prospect as Oz. The Wizard, however, was right there in Bombay. My father, Anis Ahmed Rushdie, was a magical parent of young children, but he was also prone to explosions, thunderous rages, bolts of emotional lightning, puffs of dragon smoke, and other menaces of the type also practiced by Oz, the great and terrible, the first Wizard Deluxe. And when the curtain fell away, and we, his growing offspring, discovered, like Dorothy, the truth about adult humbug, it was easy for us to think, as she did, that our wizard must be a very bad man indeed. It took me half a lifetime to discover that the great Oz's Apologia Pro Vita Sua fitted my father equally well, that he too was a good man but a very bad wizard. I've begun with these personal reminiscences because The Wizard of Oz is a film whose driving force is the inadequacy of adults, even of good adults. At its beginning, the weaknesses of grown-ups force a child to take control of her own destiny, and her dog's. Thus, ironically, she begins the process of becoming a grown-up herself. The journey from Kansas to Oz is a rite of passage from a world in which Dorothy's parent substitutes, Auntie Em and Uncle Henry, are powerless to help her save her dog Toto from the marauding Miss Gulch, into a world where the people are her own size, and in which she is never treated as a child, but always treated as a heroine. She gains this status by accident, it's true.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?